That was an ugly loss for the Indiana Pacers. Tony East here covering the team for Forbes and Locked On Pacers, and here to break down whatever that was by the Indiana Pacers, who go to LA. They play the Lakers, and the Lakers did not have LeBron James. He was hurt. They did not have Luka Doncic. He's not quite ready to go yet. They didn't have Mark Williams. Trade pending. He's a little banged up. They didn't have any of those guys. Probably 3 starters for their eventual team. That didn't matter at all. They were up by 22. The Lakers were in the first quarter of this game. An absolutely dreadful start for the Pacers, who recovered in some ways. They theoretically outscored the Lakers over the last 3 quarters by 15 points. But a look at the game chart shows how that went, right? They were down 25 in the middle of the second, and they were down like 16 at halftime. Then a nice surge in the middle of the third. But then the rest of the way was a lot of Lakers runs. From the time that the Pacers cut it to 4 to late in the game when they had it within 2 possessions, it was all Lakers who got their lead up to as much as 18 again later in the second half. So really, while the Pacers did outscore the Lakers, air quotes, over the last 3 quarters, a lot of that came from 2 runs. And the rest of the game was dominated by LA, which didn't look like it would be the case on paper when you looked at who was available for both teams and the Pacers' record of late. But they've been in a theme of these dreadful starts, and that is what cost them in this one, right? Everybody who's been watching this team saw it. In LA, they just played the Clippers 2 nights before, and they were down 20 points after the first quarter, 22 early in the second quarter. They were fortunate that they found their footing and were able to come back and win that one, right? That was an impressive comeback. They deserve a lot of credit for that. They played very well down the stretch, a perfect final 200 seconds to close it out. They played Utah 3 days before that, 4 days before that. They played very well in the last minutes against the Jazz. They were down 15 in the first half of that game, right? That means 3 times on their 4-game road trip, they were down 15 plus in the first half. That just can't happen, right? That's just not... You're playing catch-up the whole game, and the Pacers have been susceptible to giving up these big runs all season. A lot of times it's been when they're ahead, but when it's like this, it's so hard to dig yourself out of that. It takes so much perfection and the perfect mentality. It's so easy to quit in a game like that, and the Pacers didn't really quit in any of them, but in this one, it didn't let them come back. Certainly, they had no chance, right? They've got to figure out these starts to games and get things going. They only have one more home game before the All-Star break. They need to show a good fight early in that game. The Knicks come to town this week, and it'll be important for the Pacers to really... the Wizards come to town this week. It'll be really important for the Pacers to get it going early in that one to kind of get things going, show that they can play a complete 48-minute game before they have a back-to-back and fly to New York the very next day. So tough for the Pacers. That's why they lost. They started poorly. But the real specifics were that very few players played a good game for both halves, right? Ben Mathurin was the Pacers' best starter early. His first half was very good, right? Ben Mathurin's first half, 4 for 6 for 11 points, playing with some force, making some tough shots, hit a 3. Only a Pacers starter to hit a 3-pointer in the first half. The Pacers starters combined for 6 made shots in the first half. 4 from Ben Mathurin, 1 from Thomas Bryant, 1 from Tyrese Haliburton. Austin Reeves himself made 6 shots in the first half. Austin Reeves amazing for the Lakers in this game. He had 45 points. Right? Ben Mathurin was the only Pacer with a good first half. And then the second half was a flip. Andrew Nembhard wasn't good really in either half, but Tyrese Haliburton second half. 16 points, 6 assists, no turnovers on 6 for 8 from the field. Thomas Bryant in the second half. 11 points, 7 rebounds, no turnovers, 5 for 8 from the field. Pascal Siakam in the second half. 21 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, 6 for 10 from the field, no turnovers. Those 3 were great. Mathurin was 1 for 6, and Nembhard did not have a good half on either end of the floor at all, right? But regardless, that they never had enough overlap where the whole unit looked good. That's what's made the Pacers so deadly, is their starting 5 being really good since early December, and that wasn't the case in this game. It wasn't their typical starting 5. They didn't have Miles Turner. Thomas Bryant started once again, the second time he did so on this road trip, but they just did not. They didn't play very well. They didn't play very consistently. The bench gave the Pacers some okay minutes at times, right? Aaron Nesmith's defense was good, but he missed 6 threes. Obi Toppin played a well-rounded game. Ben Shepherd hit 3 threes. That was important. Like, they did some okay stuff. The second unit did. Some of those guys won their minutes in this one. But in general, again, the Pacers didn't have it. Their effort wasn't there. Their shooting wasn't there. Their defense wasn't there on anybody, but particularly Reeves. And it cost them big time, right? It was very clear early they were disconnected. Aaron Nesmith threw the ball off of Pascal Siakam. Obi Toppin missed a dunk and then got called for offensive basket interference, right? Just a lot of goofy stuff. They were just letting guys get to the rim, and by the time they were focused and figured it out, it was just too late, and the Lakers kept rolling right through them as the Pacers fall to 29-22. I think their star players also are part of this story, and I just went through this. But like, you could look at the stats after the game and say that Pascal Siakam, with 23.6 rebounds and 4 assists, had a good, air quotes, game. Tyrese Haliburton finishes with 19 points, 9 assists, 1 turnover. You could call that a good, air quotes, game. It wasn't, because for half of the game, they were not up to the level that they needed to be. In the first half, Tyrese Haliburton and Pascal Siakam combined for 5 points on 1 for 12 shooting. What? What are you supposed to do when that's the case? When almost a third of your shots are going to those two guys not making anything or not giving you enough? You're really reliant on your Matherins and your benches. And in some ways, those guys contributed and gave the Pacers enough lift to not be embarrassed. They were down 16. That's very bad, but not embarrassing by halftime. On the other hand, you know they're capable of it, because in the second half, they were awesome, right? They were 12 for 18 in the second half and combined for 37 points. Like, if they gave the Pacers any punch in the first half, this could have been a closer game. And the Pacers are such a flow team that defense leads to offense and offense leads to defense, and none of that happened in this game at all. They get out of this road trip 2-2, which is nothing short of a miracle, honestly. They didn't play well at all, and they can come back home and try to recover, try to show that they can start games well, and try to show that they can finish strong heading into the break, although flying into New York for a back-to-back against the Knicks, it's going to be a tough final game before All-Star. All that said, this game exposed one other thing that they're trying to address. They need another center. Obi Toppin was minus 21. His defense wasn't great. He was their backup 5. Thomas Bryant started with Miles Turner out. They've been dancing around the center position thanks to 2 very early Achilles injuries to James Wiseman and Isaiah Jackson at that spot. They're fortunate they haven't had long-term absences for Turner or Bryant in that stretch, but now that they have financial wiggle room created by trading away James Wiseman, which I talked about after the Clippers video on this channel, they can sign a player and stay under the tax, and someone that can actually help them play. That's going to be Alex Len. I've confirmed that today, assuming he clears waivers when waived by the Wizards. Once that happens, if he gets through that process, he could sign with the Pacers, where who knows if he could ever play anywhere in the league right now, if there was actually be a role for him. But the Pacers are a good team and can offer him the third center spot where he might actually play. At times, he's only made the playoffs twice in his career, so perhaps that is appealing to him. He played with Tyrese Haliburton with the Kings for half of a season. He was coached by Lloyd Pierce in Atlanta for a little bit, so he has some Pacers connections. But I think that the most appealing part of the signing for the Pacers is cheap center depth. They need it very, very badly, right? And if Alex Len can come in and do what he's done his whole career, set some screens, catch the ball around the basket, and at times finish well. He's an okay finisher. Be just a burly body, a third center that they can throw out in a game like this, where Jackson Hayes and Trey Jamison are giving him trouble. Those two combined to go 8 for 9. Yeah, they could have used another center. And Alex Len will be that center if all goes the way the Pacers want. He has to clear waivers. I guess someone could claim him because he's on a minimum deal. But we'll break down that signing and how he looks if he plays in the game before the break. For now, we're just talking Pacers-Lakers. If you want more on the Pacers or the Fever, please subscribe and tune in for more. I just did a long Fever free agency video that people seem to enjoy. Thank you guys for watching this one. I'll catch you after the Pacers' next game.